Hello and welcome to my Diablo Werewolf fire build. And I made this build. Um, I've seen a lot druids, werewolves struggling with damage and PvE and dungeons. So I came out with this build, and it does a lot of damage. In dungeons, I managed to pull over 1 billion damage with this build, and it has a lot of damage. And I wanted to share this build with you. And let's get started. So when it comes to our skills, we got Werewolf, and then we have Summon Oak Sage, and Fire Tornado, and Torn Armor. And then for our primary, we have Landslide. Okay, let's go over Summon Oak Sage. So the reason I use Summon Oak Sage because it gives us primer power, and with the essence I use, Reckless Sage. Summon Oak Sage no longer passively summons, and instead actively summons a ring of 5 Oak Sages that automatically seek out enemies and self-destruct, dealing damage. And each Oak Sage generates 2 primal power when it explodes. So you have 2 chargers. So basically, you want to use all your charges, your 2 charges, and you have a total of 10 Oak Sages spinning around you. I'll show you right here. And each will generate 2 primal power. Okay. And next, we want to use a fire tornado, and we want to use essence exploding tornado. And a fire tornado now unleashes an explosion at target location, dealing damage and causes enemies to burn. Damage per second for 3 seconds. And it generates primal power when used. And with the essence, whenever you critical hit with your primary attack, it triggers by itself. So when you're in werewolf form, it triggers fire tornado. So I usually don't have to cast this when I go in werewolf because it triggers by itself. So this is nice essence. And then and summon oak sage give us extra primer power. So this build I based it around summon oak sage and fire tornado for primer power. And you're gonna do a lot of damage because you can stay in werewolf much longer. And next we have torn armor, and with the essence we have, absorbs damage, it deals damage to nearby enemies, and then it triggers with your primary attacks, so you don't have to worry casting torn armor once you go in werewolf. And the same as for fire tornado, when you werewolf and you primary attack and it critical hits, it causes fire tornadoes, and it gives you primer power. And then um, let's go down here. So for werewolf, we use radiant werewolf, and werewolf now causes your transformer and dash forward, dealing damage to enemies in your path. Your werewolf forms in a wrath in flames, dealing damage per second nearby enemies that inflict burn effect, which deals damage per second and increases your critical hit chance by 3%, stacking up six times. So that'll be you get critical hit chance increased by 18% from having a radiant werewolf. This is my shoulder essence. We'll talk about those in a minute. And let's go over here. So While a werewolf, your primary attack is a swipe, and after every third attack, you apply a bleed. So we have a bleed effect and we have a burn effect from the essence we're using. So let me show you my main hand essence. Radiant Werewolf. Werewolf now reds you on fire when you transform damaging and burning enemies. Cause your explosion of flames when primary attacks quick a hit. And then here, for our hand, we have Claw Wind, Renantier, Werewolf now slashes with both claws, unleashing a Claw Wind enemies in front of you. If burning enemies are close to you, the range and damage of the Claw Wind increases, and it knocks back enemies. So basically, your Renantier becomes with this essence. When you have a burning enemy, becomes a claw, which is a wind damage. So a claw does wind damage. So whenever you combine wind damage with fire, you get firestorm. So wind and fire, you get firestorm. So burn effect. So like from rolling consequence, you get a burn effect, and then from this aura essence you get. So you do a fire damage, you do a burn effect, and then with wind, so your attacks become firestorms. So you do massive damage, and it's really nice. This essences right here. So this is our the main build. There's two essences. Okay, and let me show you a quick demonstration. So whenever I engage in a fight, I always want to make sure I cast my Oak Sage 2 charges. I charge in, and you see right now it's when it lights up, that's when you want to hit the skill Rend and Tear. That means you get the Wind Claw effect, and it does extra damage. I'm holding my shift bar and I'm auto attacking. So Rend and Tear, you want to use it when it lights up. And when you run low on primal power, so like if when it's like 20-30%, you cast your Oak Sages, 2 Oak Sages, drop back in the fight, and my Fire Tornado generates primal power. So now I need a primal power. I cast my 2 Oak Sages, drop back in Werewolf. So what's nice about this build, you don't have to worry about primal power, so you can stay in Werewolf much longer. And even if you get out the Werewolf to cast your Oak Sages, you jump right back in. So it's really quick. So you can continually do a lot of damage. So in dungeons with this build, I do um, a lot of damage, over 1 billion damage, which is really nice. So you always want to cast your Oak Sages, and when you start a fight, and then when you run below 20-30%, you get out a Werewolf, cast your Oak Sages, and then you jump back into a Werewolf. It takes a little practice, but you want to use Random Tier when it lights up. It has a long range, hits a lot of enemies. My fire tornado always generates primer power. So let's say I need primer power. So when I get about right about here, I need primer power. I cast my Oak Sages, jump back in Werewolf, and you see the primer power go back up. Let's let it go down. Osage, jumping werewolf. So howl. I mean, your primary attack is your main damage, then howl, and then rend and tear. Uh, your dash doesn't do as much damage. I do use it, but it's rend and tear, and howl, and your primary attack. Your primary attack actually does the most damage. So let's look at the breakdown. Okay, now let's go over essences. Let me show you my essences. So for helm, we have a bonfire crest. Exploring tornado fires. Tornado now unleashes an explosion at target location that damages and burns nearby enemies. Skill can be triggered on a critical hit with a primary attack. And then for shoulder, while werewolf, you deal increased damage. And this one is reduced by 5% for every ally, up to 10%. But I believe this is the best essence for shoulder. And the percentages at max level, this can be 29%, close to 30%. And then for chest, you use Scat and Torn. Torn armor now unleashes. Torn armor now only shields you, and while active, causes your primary attack Scat and Torns, damage nearby enemies. Skill can be triggered on primary attack. Torn armor cooldown reduced by 2.4 seconds. And then for our main hand, we use our Radiant Werewolf. Werewolf now wraps you in fire. We transform damaging and burning nearby enemies and causing explosion of flames with primary attack critical hit. With werewolf, damage increase. So this essence was currently buffed by Blizzard. And for our offhand, we use Claw of the Wind, Rend and Tear. Werewolf now slashes both claws, unleashing a claw wind at enemies in front of you. So we have wind damage. If burning enemies are close to you, the range and damage of the claw wind increases. And that's what I was trying to tell you. Whenever you see Rend and Tear lights up yellow or the orange color, that's when you want to use it because you do the most damage. And it knocks back your enemies. And then for leggings, um, using a Rend and Tear werewolf. So we use Savagery Adored. And this one increases your critical hit chance of your primary attacks. And the reason, like I said, we do a lot of damage with our primary attacks. So critical hit is important because whenever you critical hit, you get the fire tornado and you do a lot more damage. So critical hit chance is very important. And next for other offhand, I mean the main hand, we use fire tornado generates additional 1 primary power per enemy hit up to a maximum of 10. Fire tornado damage increase. So this is a good one for the other main hand. And then for other offhand, summon Oak Sage no longer passively summons, and instead actively summons a ring of Oak Sages that automatically seeks out the targets and self-destruct, dealing damage only by enemies. So this is a good essence for oak sage. It's not saying on here, but as you can see, if you look at the skill and then you look at the essence, here it says that each oak sage generates two primal power. So you get two charges. So you always want to use your two charges whenever it's up, or you need some primal power. And each oak sage generates two primal power. So if you have 10 oak sages, so that'll be 20 primal power. So this really works really nice with fire tornado. So fire tornado and torn armor. When you're in werewolf, this automatically trigger your primary attacks. And then when I run low on primal power, like I showed you earlier, when I get to like 20, 30%, um, I jump out of werewolf and then I cast my two oak sages and then I jump back in werewolves. So yeah, those are my essences. And I use four-piece Vitas and I use four-piece Gloom. So that was just a demonstration, but you do want to use your dash because with Gloom, when you use your dash, you get increased damage and increases your critical hit chance. It was just a demonstration earlier, so now so I play. So I'm waiting to run low on primer power, but you see how long I last in werewolf. And let's say now I need some primer power. Oak sages, boom, and werewolf, and I got primer power. So you with this build, you'll have a lot of uptime in werewolf. Now I need primer power, oak sage, back in werewolf. So I always want to cast your two charges of oak sage. See, it lights up. Now you want to use it. And now it's going to light up again. You want to use this red and tear. Now I need some primer power. I cast two oak sages. Jump back in the fight. So it's really quick. Um, it makes this build makes it really bursty. And I recommend you stack some attack speed. Vitor's Urge will give you some attack speed, which is really nice, 30%. Attack speed works really good with Werewolf. So yeah, this how this build works. And when you need primer power, you run really low. Cast your two Oak Sages, jump back in a fight. It just takes a little practice. And then when you're in dungeons and PV, and dungeons PV and stuff, if you're going to charge your skill, it's going to take a lot of your damage. So I recommend you do a shorter charge, unless you wanna you wanna pull your enemies back. Then yeah, you charge it longer to skill, but you don't want to charge it too long because if you want to do a lot of damage, then um, time is on the essence. So uh, you want to continue doing damage. If you're out there charging skills, then it's going to take out of a lot of your damage out. So uh, yeah, so this is my Fire Werewolf PV guide. I've seen some players use it in PvP. Um, it does a lot of damage, but I don't recommend it for PV. PvP. I think this is more of a PvE build, and you want to make sure you have with buffs and everything. You want to have at least 60% critical hit chance, and then critical hit damage. You want to get this up there, and then armor penetration, your critical hit damage, and then attack speed. Um, Attack speed is very important. So let me show you my stats real quick. So my critical hit chance is 65%, critical hit damage 6%, and then I get 51% critical hit damage from armor penetration, and the cap for PV is 120% for critical hit damage, and then 100% cap for critical hit chance, and then I have 50% attack speed. So attack speed is very important. And then there's one gem I wanted to show you, which is really good. It's Pain Clasp. So Pain Clasp increases your continuous damage by 24%, and that includes your bleed effect, your burn effect. So this build right here, we have a bleed effect, we have a lot of burn effects, and this will increase your damage overall of your continuous damage. So I highly recommend use Pain Clasp at rank 10. And yeah, that I believe covers my build. I hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe and have fun out there.